Padma Shri is yet to join.
Yes. But is talking about his practice.
Yeah, awareness related.
Okay.
That is easiest. Otherwise, we have to sit in one place and do it. Now, whatever you do, the moment you remember dhyana, you just watch what is happening around. That has become something like easy for me now.
Yeah.
But it's only watching for some duration, then automatically it jumps back to Darpa Mithya Jagat.
Yeah, that will be the case till you reach the top.
Yes.
Even Janaka, even after reaching Samadhi, he used to go to Samadhi, come back, go to Samadhi, come back. So there is no going and
Janaka
coming.
is Janaka Raja.
The King Janaka. Janaka.
Oh.
So that is, you should read the Yoga Vasishta.
Uh-huh.
Then you'll understand the next state. Okay, fine. So let's not go into Yoga Vasishta.
Yeah, it will be pulled to that direction.
Yeah.
So we will start. I mean, Padma Shri might join later, I think so.
He'll join, yeah.
Okay, so we stopped at the 87th verse. So cultivating dispassion. So actually when we are working in the office, when you are taking a phone call to anything you are doing, you have to do this. Yourself and others are both same. That is, this body, tvak, mamsa, rudirau, snayu, medo, majja, asti, sankulam, purnam, mutra, purisha, bhyam, stulam, nindyam, idam, vapuhu. If you can convert this into a mantra, it will be very good. And let's say I'm looking at Lata's photo and your photo, I should immediately make this. So you get disgusted. Then the Jagat goes away, leading only to Jivi. So this practice would help. Otherwise, the next one, what he says, is not possible. Good morning, Padma Shri.
Good morning. Sorry.
No worry.
Morning, Padmasri.
I didn't see the time at all.
So I messaged you and then I stopped the bus. No problem. So if you convert this 87th verse into a mantra rather than Gayatri mantra, if you can do this, it will be good. Tvak mamsa rudirau snayu medo majja asti sankulam purnam mutra purisha bhyam stulam nindyam idam vapuhu. And keep on reciting it. It breaks. Okay. So it's like you are removing the outer packaging. And you will not like even one part of the body. Whether your or your daughters or your son or wife or husband or whatever it is. So first you have to create that repulsive nature. Now the question comes, why should I do it? Is there any other way? Answer is no. There is no other way.
I will just read this out, very interesting. Mamsa rudira snayu medo majjasti sankulam purnammotra puri shabhyam stulam nindya midam vapuhu. Correct?
Correct. So this will be the mantra instead of Gayatri. So whenever you see a person, physically or on Teams, you are doing this.
Which means you are doing the ninda of stula sharira.
No, you're not doing ninda of a stula sharira. It is nindyam. That means it is ultimately going to be. I'll give you an example, but it's a very practical example. Okay. Now, 10 minutes before death, there was a mother. 10 minutes after her passing away, do you still have a mother? What does the people call?
There is only memory.
No,
Memory.
wait. No, wait for a second. You will automatically, when you give a call saying that my mother passed away, what's the next question you get? When is the body coming?
Correct.
Now, where is the mother? So that is the ninda.
Yes.
So anybody dying, anybody's consciousness not being there, as long as the consciousness remains, you are calling a person as a person. Then the moment the consciousness departs, the next thing what people ask is, when is the body coming? And they use a napumsakalinga, that is neutral gender. They don't even say pullinga or strilinga. The consciousness going away will make no longer a female or a male, and people start calling it as a body. So let's say the body is in the hospital, so they don't say, when they give a call, my father is coming to go to funeral. You'll say, my father is dead, the body is coming at so and so time, and we are doing funeral at so and so time. Nobody says my father or my mother or whoever is going to come at so and so time and going to funeral at so and so time. Nobody says that. So all along, whom I considered as my father or my mother or brother or sister or wife or son or daughter or whatever it was, once the consciousness goes away, it becomes just a body. So whom was I associated with is the question. I was associated with Tvak Mamsa Rudirav Snayu Medo Majja Asti Sankulam Purnam Putra Purishabhyam Stulam Nindyam Midam Vapu. This is the one which I was with all the time. As a mother or father or brother or sister or daughter or a son or husband or a wife. And same thing with colleague and friend and all that, enemy and all that. That's all what it is. So you have to necessarily create a repulsive tendency or ninda tendency in the mind. There is no other way. So, and Padma Shri last time she had asked this question. No, I think there should be some other way. Answer is, there is no other way. You have to create repulsion. So when we looked at Padma Shri, when we looked at taking the
No. My question was, I think again, I may not have been very clear. My question was, to create repulsion, there is another way, I said. I'm not saying that you cannot have repulsion. You have to have that repulsion.
Then it is okay. Then this is another way.
Create it, some other way should be there.
Yes. Then you are right. Then I am mistaken. Yeah. So this is another way, but you have to have a state of repulsion. If that works, and you need to do it for 21 days in a stretch. If you do that, 88th verse becomes reality. You will understand what is Panchikarana. Panchikritebhyo bhutabhyah For the very first time, you will see what is Bhuta. And it is also there in Vishnu Sahasranama. Bhutatma, Bhutatma and all that. It starts with that. You, the very first time you will come in terms with Mahabhuta. You will see what they do and how Panchikarana happens. Stulebhyaha purva karmana. Now you will see the 5 elements are getting connected not because you want to connect, it is connected by the karma for which you have got nothing to do with it. Samutpannam idam stulam bhoga ayatanam atmanah avastha jagrah tasya stula artha anubhavah yatah. So if 87th verse is completely experienced and you get into repulsion, you will get to see various experiences happening. First you will see how the Panchikarana happens. Now how this Panchikarana happens is like this. Have you seen an early morning dust? If you, the sunrise, light sunrise, and then on the window you will see a thick layer of dust getting accumulated. That is Panchikarana. It gives shape. That's actually Mahabhuta. Individual particles coming together. If you really observe, you will find dewdrops, you will find this solid, and then you will find the air, and you will also find the temperature. And you will find the space because it is covered with space. So the only thing which is missing in that action is the consciousness. In that thing, early morning sunrise, where you are able to see the dust, and then how they come together, the way they come together is by your karma. So that becomes karma bandhana, not to the elements but to the consciousness. Samutpannam idam sthulam. So that you call it as a body. This Panchikarana of 5 elements is called as a body, which is looking gross because they are 5 elements have come together. Now bhoga yatana matmanaha. Bhoga yatana. Bhoga is enjoyer. Yatana, holding to that enjoyment. Atmanaha, the self. Avastha jagarastasya, gets into wakefulness, tasya, with this body. Stula, stularthanubhavo yataha. Stula artha anubhavaha yataha. Now you call that as a body experience. That's all what is happening. So what we need to practice is 87. What result you get is 88. To say that what is the meaning of waking state. Any questions here? It's like a pinnacle of experience.
So in Jagrata Avastha, this Panchikrita Bhuta, this Deha experience only during Jagrata Avastha.
Correct. Correct.
And during the Jagrata Avastha, if you have experience of this Deha, it says go back to 87 and understand that Mahamsa, Rudhira, Snayu, and all that kind of the ingredients, or I can say it's parts of this Stula Sharira. And when you understand that, then you will start hating it. That means you may not like it. So that way you can be away from this Stula, what you call Jagrata Avastha experience of this Deha. So through Deha, don't experience anything. That's what it says, because it is the worst experience.
Yes. So what really should be done is, let's say I am standing in front of the mirror and I feel attracted by my eyes or color of the skin or the how I'm looking or whatever it is. Then immediately I have to get into this repulsive. If I don't get into the repulsive, what happens here is that it will automatically bring in kama, lustful thoughts in Jagrata Avastha. And that same thing happens when I see my daughter or son or wife or anybody. There is a lustful attachment. Because what I am calling as a mother or a father or a brother or sister or wife or daughter, son or whatever, is to the physical body, where there is an attraction. So if I make 87th verse correctly, I am able to see the Panchikarana of the same 5 elements, but with the same consciousness, yet looking split, as though 2 people are there. It's only 1, but it looks like 2, or it looks like 3. In my home, 1 single consciousness looks like 3. But when you go to sleep, all the 3 get dissolved. That's the fun. So the magician consciousness gives the experience to the mind as though you exist. But when the person sleeps, that experience is removed. So how can you then rely on this experience? So there's only 1 consciousness and Panchikarana of 5 elements, depending upon karma. So this 1 consciousness seems to be split in thousands and thousands of parts, at the same time experiencing different things. So right at this moment, it is experiencing as Bhatt, as Padmashri, as Vilas, as Lata. If we were to take this, and also it is experiencing as those many people who have joined online. But it's 1 single consciousness. But that is what we want to see, that is you as mind want to see. So to first let go of the body itself to see that, because it's a Panchikarana. So he says, Bhoga Yatana Matmanaha. Bhoga Yatana Atmanaha. Bhoga Yatanam means holding on to the enjoyment. Atmanaha, the self which is residing in the mind. Avastha jagarastasya stular thanubhavo yataha. So it gets to experience a solid state or a gross state of existence, wherein there is no real gross at all. So this will take 21 days for you to implement that 87th verse and experiencing the 88. And then what happens? If that 21 days you are able to practice very well, now you can see the drama happening. Bahindriyaihi stula padartha sevam shrak chandana striyadi vichitra rupam karoti jivaha swayam etattatmanah tasmat prashastaihi vapushaha asya jagare. So from then it will take another 21 days to understand this drama. Bahindriya stula padartha sevam, by means of these outgoing sense organs. Stula padartha sevam, all the gross elements are seen as enjoyable objects. Shrak is garland, that means fame. Chandana, sandal paste. Actually, people have misunderstood Shankara's teaching. He is given an analogy, they exactly put it as it is. So they put garland. Garland means name and fame. How famous you are is Shrak. Chandana is sandal paste, so they put sandal paste on their forehead and all that. That is not what is meant. Is meant is wealth. Striyadi, Stri, Purusha and Putra or Pautra and all that. Normally Striyadi is given because that's the highest enjoyment you can have, is to marry or have a woman in your life. And the same thing is applied as a husband. So generally it is woman oriented, so you have Stri Adi, like that. So what you get is name, fame and sex. Vichitra Rupam, then you create endless variety of names and forms. So as an example, I bring in a being, female being, and I call it as a wife. That is a Vichitra Rupa, because it never existed and it will never going to exist. No matter how much I try, a wife should exist. And I bring another human being or another Jivi and call it as husband. Then these two people go to job and they call themselves as employee, karmika, and then they becomes an employer, which is again another Jivi with 87th verse. So now this Vichitra Rupa is formed. So there is an employer, there is an employee, then there is an organization. You will not find anybody else other than Tvak, Mamsa, Rudirav, Snayu, Medo, Majja, Asti, Sankulam, Purnam, Mutra, Purisha, Bhyam, Stulam, Nindyam, Idam, Vapuhu. Except for this, nobody is seen. In the office or at home or on the road or wherever you go, only you will find this. But the person names something and start expecting that something to progress, and that creates ego. karoti jivaha swayam etat atmanah. It automatically creates a ego sense that I am the enjoyer. So this individualized ego itself identifies itself as the gross body. Tasmat prashastaihi vapushaha asya jagare. Therefore, the greatest scope, if something has to be there as I, that is only in the waking state and nowhere else. You will not find I at all anywhere else other than the waking state, because from the five senses I am able to experience gross happenings which are so untrue. So we spend around 18-19 hours called as waking hours in this activity of identification. That's all we do. Okay, so we need to get out of this. So this will take another 21 days. So that means the first one will take 21, the second one will take another 21. Then we come to the next one. So one thing we need to understand about Panchikarana is that the Tanmatras, that is Shabda, Sparsha and all that, those Tanmatra gets converted by mixing with the five elements of Prithvi, Apo, Tejo, Vaya, Akasha. So it looks the subtle and the gross when it forms. It itself is itself. Like an example is space creates Shabda, but the person treats space separate and Shabda separate, but they both are the same. That's the reason it is called Panchikarana, joining together. Without space there is no sound. Without light there can't be anything to see. Okay, but light is Agni. So when we say I have an eye, it is actually what you have is an Agni, not anything to see. So it creates that Panchikarana in such a way that each gross element consists of half of its own subtle element and in 1/8 part of each other's four elements. That is, if something is Prithvi, like the touch, it has 1/8 part of other elements, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, and half of the subtle element, that is this touch. So if you have Tvak, skin, Sparsha is half of the Prithvi, because skin is made out of Prithvi. So what you are touching is actually only Prithvi. You are not touching anyone, including yourself. If I am touching my hand, one hand to another hand, actually what I am touching is 1/8 part of Tejo, Vayu, Apa, and half Prithvi, and full of Prithvi. So half of Prithvi is Sparsha, the remaining one full portion is pure Prithvi, and half of it is Sparsha, and in the Sparsha you will have temperature. So when I touch one hand to the other hand, I can feel the temperature. I can also feel some wetness, and I can also see some moving thing there, that is Vayu. So where is my hand? It is just a name, identifier. So what is this? This is called as gross experience. And secondly, we need to understand is that the sandal color is golden. So when it want to say that you require kanchana and wealth, that is Aishwarya, normally sandal paste represents that. So if we really see the sandal paste and the garland, and there is a word called as Kamini, especially for women, they name it, or there are so many other names like Padmini and all that. So all that, Bhamini, Padmini, Kamini, and all that name is for a feminine, because there is lust in the person who is seeing it. So Nalinakshi, if somebody has it, it means Nalini is lotus petal. So somebody's eyes is like a lotus petal. It's very big. So it is very attractive. So three things which is part of itself, that is, the garland is made out of 5 elements with some color there, combination. So what should then happen is, or what really happens is, when the person gets garlanded in the public, or even in the office, when we get some appreciation letters and this and that, it is equivalent to that garland. Ego automatically comes, because it is gross. The paper and the wood carving or whatever is a gross, and the garland is also gross, and the person to whom it is given is subtle, but it is put on the gross body, but the experiencer is subtle, so it immediately calls ego. So ego sense takes it as itself and puts it around its wall at the home, showcasing that I have won so many awards. And that's all what this gross experience is all about. This is one. Number two is that sandal paste, which is wealth. So $100 or 100 rupees, it's paper. But what gets into mind is that $100 into 70 rupees is 7,000 rupees, whereas 100 rupees is 100 rupees. So I have just now earned 7,000 rupees instead of 100 rupees. So there is again a false prestige which comes up. So that is called as wealth. And third one, beautification. Men do some amount or more amount of beautification, but women, most of them spend their time in beautification. And that beautification is lust, because now I don't see it as 5 elements. I am seeing it as 1 second. Okay. So when that lust comes in, it doesn't see as 5 elements. So that one portion, the first portion, that is, whether it's like if I'm seeing some lady and she seems to be attracted to me, or I feel attracted to her, whichever way it is, then one portion, that's the first portion, Prithvi, is camouflaged. It is taken over by the second portion, that is the half portion, which is touch. So first I get a sight which is drawn by Agni, then I cannot experience anything because now I want her to be very next to me. So I need to walk towards her and make an introduction. So I want somebody to introduce me to her so that I can strike a conversation. Even though it is just Prithvi, but what I am seeing it as a nice looking beautiful woman. And now the whole situation changes because I have created a mental world. In this mental world exists the way a female should look. Same thing for a female, way a male should look. So even though we have married or we have stayed together or kept a friend or have a friends who are feminine and masculine, but this mental image is the one we keep seeing. We don't see that it is just Prithvi, Tvak. And we don't see anything inside also. So that means when I see this lady who is very good looking as per me, I don't see the other dirty things what she has. I see her as a very adorable, enjoyable kind of an object is created in the mind, and this is called as mental world. So 99.99% of our waking life is this mental world, where everything is schematically created as a concept. So the beautiful woman, a beautiful girl, a beautiful lady, or whatever that names can be given, that word beautiful is a mental created. Lady is also mental created. There is neither a lady nor a woman nor anything except for this Tvak Mamsa. So when I come to Kamini, or another name put as Bhamini or Nalini, like these names which are given, and Padmini and all of that, what it makes is the mind feels attracted to it. So Kama is sensual. So a very sensuous being is what her parents have named her. So if she comes and introduces, my name is Kamini. So what she means is that I'm very sensuous person. So like that we have many words which I don't know why their parents couldn't understand this and they have named it. So when it is named, this person gets the lustful ideas because lust starts with Kama. So out of the 5 senses, all the 5 senses are automatically given. So all the 1/8 are removed immediately. In its place, the Purna is created. That means it's completely fabricated. Person comes into existence. So somebody says, there comes the beautiful, or Miss Universe, or Miss India, or Miss this, Miss that, or whatever it is. What it what it naturally comes is when we say Miss Universe and Miss World, is this Kamini which comes. Lust. So if I'm watching that, let us say that serial or episode or a live show, automatically the tvak, snayu, mamsa, all that is removed. In its place, the woman is created. Same thing happens with the man, handsome man, tall man, and all that. A rich man or this man or that man, same thing. So what we have married and what we have copulated and what we have got as children is nothing but Panchikarana of 5 elements, nothing else. The remaining, that is son, daughter, husband, wife, etc., are created in the mind, to be enjoyed in the mind and suffered in the mind. That's all. And the enjoyer here is the ego, which gets created in the 88th verse. Sorry, 89th verse. Karoti jivaha swayam etat atmanah. So it will forget that there is something called consciousness and it itself takes its place, in its place, and starts to recognize itself as mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. And that is the reason Shankaracharya started that Nirvana Shatakam as mano, buddhi, ahankara, chittani naham. Because it is untrue, it's fabricated. So this experience of the kirti, what you get in Srak, the wealth, what you get in Chandana, Striyadi, which is Kamini, and an endless variety of rupas created from there, is what is called as a waking state. There is no other waking state than this state. So what's the difference between Mandukya Upanishad waking state and this? Mandukya Upanishad talks about consciousness being there in all the 4, but it is a very conceptual reality. So nobody can really experience it in Mandukya Upanishad. So what Shankara did is to bring it very closer to experience. That's the difference between what was there in the Hindu philosophy and how Shankara made it more accessible, more understandable. So there is a huge difference between Mandukya Upanishad reading and reading Vivekachudamani, because in Vivekachudamani he exactly says how it should be seen, including the Taittiriya Upanishad, which talks about each of these 5 koshas. Again, Shankaracharya changes it into a different way, because with that you cannot experience. It's a concept, but with this you can certainly experience. So what is required is not the concept, what is required is an experience. So this is the way to actually practice and see the mental world. So when we see that, then we get 2 loka. One is an internal loka and one is an external loka. So we see then in the 90th verse, the external loka. Sarvopi bahya samsaraha purushasya yadashrayah vidhi deham idam stulam grihavat griha medanaihi. sarva api bahya samsarshaha samsarah sorry bahya samsarah purushasya yadashrayah, all the dealings with the world outside, samsara. Samsarati iti samsara, what circles around is the samsara. Purushasya, for all the purusha, yadashrayah, are dependent on this body. Viddideham idam sthulam, this gross body, know this is to be their shelter. Grihavat, as a house, is for griha medaniha, medinaha. So it is a shelter for the householder. This body is a shelter for grihastha. So the body houses the subtle one, which is totally removed from itself. This body becomes the home to conduct the business. If somebody wants to contact the subtle body, they have to only transact through the gross body. And the entire subtle body, mind, intellect, sense organs, prana, etc., which will be covered later, is given shelter in the gross body. Just like office is there for equipments and human beings. So this office is a shelter for humans to work and for their equipments. Similarly, this gross body is a shelter for manas, buddhi, indriya, prana, adi, etc. Now comes, whom am I interacting with? You are only interacting with Karana Sharira, actually, beyond the Sukshma Sharira or Manasika Sharira. That is the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And that is what is the true being, which doesn't have any jiva whatsoever. It is a nirjiva vastu. There is no jiva in that. The Manasika Sharira also doesn't have the jiva. It is again nirjiva. Stula Sharira is due to Panchikarana and hence also not have any jiva. And the jiva what we are talking about has got no jiva by itself, because it's coming from Ishvara. So who is actually interacting with another person? It is the Ishvara alone is transacting with another Ishvara. But for all practical purposes, as we speak, you have to talk to the Stula Sharira only. You cannot talk to the Sukshma Sharira or to the Karana Sharira, even though the response is coming from the Karana Sharira to the Sukshma Sharira and displayed in the Stula Sharira. Meaning, if somebody's mind is tamas, meaning first they display tamas, that is the tamas flows into the Sukshma Sharira, and it creates a tamasic state of mind, manas. So the intellect, buddhi, becomes tamas. The senses becomes gross, stula, and the prana becomes heavy. So the person acts with insecurity and doesn't do anything what you want him to do. So that means from the five senses, that means the shabda, what is going to that person, makes him feel insecure, and because it becomes insecure to him, he doesn't want to take an action. And the action has to be done from the Sukshma Sharira to the Sthula Sharira. So he will not take any action. He will start arguing or doing something, which causes agitation in the other's mind, because his mind becomes rajas. So when somebody's tamas is inert, you have to put in more effort, which is rajas. So the sattva is removed totally. So only rajas and tamas are there. So the experience, what you are getting, is actually rajasic, tamasic experience from the other person. And there is no person at all. So this becomes a Jagrata Avastha experience through the gross body, just like a shelter given to the employees and the equipment called as office. Similarly, this Sthula Sharira has these 4 and other items which forms a person. So who is interacting with whom? Sattva is interacting with tamas and rajas, or tamas is reacting with sattva and rajas. Tamas is transacting with tamas and rajas. Rajas is transacting with sattva and tamas, like that. And that's all we have as any person's, whatever we call. It's between sattva, rajas, tamas, which is nirjiva. Sukshma Sharira is also nirjiva, because it is equipment, manas, buddhi, and the indriyas and the prana. Sthula Sharira is anyway inert, nirjiva. And the jiva is given by the Ishvara. So Jagat is also not there, Jivi is also not there. You can only see Ishvara in everything. So that is Vedanta. It's already 9:26. The next one is a huge one, modification of the body. So we can do it tomorrow.
Yes. So this is about gross body related.
Yes.
Right. Today's study.
Yes. And tomorrow also will be gross body. And then we will go to.
And this gross body, we are possessing gross body because of our karma.
That's all.
And we are using this gross body for doing karya only. It should be only for karya, not for karma.
Correct. So you are only supposed to do karya, not karma.
So the major function of this gross body is to receive information through jnanendriyas and do actions through karmendriyas.
No. The function of this gross body is to act only based upon the Sukshma Sharira, which we are going to take up next, subtle body. And
to act only.
To act only. The Sthula Sharira's job is to act only. You are only acting, right? Let's say you are doing gardening. There is no you to do gardening.
I'm coming from this angle. Now we have Papa Karma done, and we have to teach Papa Karma. We have to experience that now in negative things in our life. And that experience happens through this body, and we are experiencing that in our mind, right?
Correct. Your experience is in the mind.
Papa or punya, both. Papa or punya, both.
Yes, the experience is in the mind, but it seems to be displayed by the Sthula Sharira.
Yeah, correct.
But
go
ahead.
And for moksha purpose, when you reach moksha, that means right now here, if that happens, immediately the both the papa and punya is cut.
Yes. Both are not
So
experienced.
whatever papa you have done, whatever punya you have done, because it has got no relation now.
Yes.
Your papa punya is again, it is only in the virtual world.
Correct.
There is nothing to do with the atma. This is all anatma related.
Correct. The whole thing is anatma related. The
Yeah.
sattva rajas tamas is anatma related, and the sukshma sharira is anatma related, and then the stula sharira is also anatma related.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. We can continue tomorrow.
Okay, all right. Bye, Lata and Padmashri.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.